Hi, good morning, and welcome to our Christmas edition of Spore Journeys, episode 13. I'm delighted today to introduce Mikaela Manjarrez to the podcast. She was born in Mexico and, as a single mother, moved her young family to the US, and during that time climbed the academic ladder in academia as a special education teacher, university instructor, and administrator. She then had a spiritual awakening quite unexpectedly, which changed everything and led to a life dedicated first to healing herself and then empowering others through an extensive range of healing practices focused on our often undernourished emotional and energetic bodies. As a lifelong learner, Mikaela has traveled all over the world and trained all over the world with spiritual guides and leaders, and now weaves together ceremonial plant medicine work, deep somatic practices, trauma-informed emotional process work, and energy work to support deep healing at both the individual and community level. She's also facilitated workshops and presentations at festivals, been the keynote speaker at global conferences, and mediated intentional communities all over the world. I also have the delight of hosting Mikaela in residence at my house over the summer and autumn period. And I'm really excited today for our listeners to tap into the deep wisdom and care she holds. Mikaela, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi. This is exciting.
Great. So, Mikaela, let's kick off. When people meet you today, they see you as very, very confident in your own body, holding space, and very grounded. That's not always been the case. So, can we rewind back in your life a little bit, and a period when things weren't working so well, and kind of what's going on?
Mm, yeah. So it's interesting because if I was to go back and rewind, I would say that I thought that everything was working all the time in my life. I did have the hiccups of being a teenager and having existential situations, or thinking like, what is life about, and all of those things, and was very tapped into those. But I didn't feel like something wasn't working. It kind of felt like it was working because I was oblivious or numb to the reality around me somehow. I also, but I will say this, as an adult, already married and with the little girls before our divorce, I I I was in this linear life plan, and get married, have 2.2 kids, the white picket fence, be an immigrant, do better than your parents did. So I was in that, and then be a workhorse, etc. So again, I didn't know that it wasn't working. But what wasn't working is I wasn't really thriving. I was really just working, being the best mother that I could, the best wife that I could be, the best worker that I could be in every single part of it, and not really knowing that I had my own healing to do. And then when the divorce came, I just kept at it, being the best parent, and really numbed my own pain, let's say. And I didn't want to burden anyone with my own pain. So, yeah, I would say I've had my own, my hiccups, as everyone has had, and challenges in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this a bit before, but you've also kind of been seen as a little bit of as a rescuer. Was that kind of is that how you describe yourself a little bit, kind of in those early stages? And then I guess what was the trend? How did you just move away from that?
Mm. Yeah, I speak about this being a rescuer, right? This kind of survival technology that people use, that we use. And it stems from this diagram from 40 years ago called the victim triangle. And there's this persecutor, rescuer, victim type of triangle. And we play these roles. And my role growing up, the way that I became or survived, let's say, whatever things were happening in my own childhood. I wanted or to rescue everybody. I wanted everyone to be okay, feel okay, be heard, be taken care of, and very much this nourishing person from a very, very young age. I can give you an example. I was born and raised in Mexico City, And it's a very impoverished city to be raised in, and there's abject poverty all around. And the story goes that when I was around 4 years old, I was already giving my sweater. I was in the back seat in the car with my mom, and I would take my sweater off and gift it to the person that was asking for support on the road, right? Maybe an indigenous mom with a baby, and I would just do that. So that thread of being a rescuer, that it was a big part of my life from a very young age. And just to make a distinction, to be in service to community and to others and to hold space is not the same as being a rescuer. Rescuer has an energy of this compelling need and longing to resolve things for everyone, and it's not an empowering energy. So yeah, I was definitely a rescuer. I'm a rescuer in recovery, even now, and so much more aware of when it shows up. Yeah.
Great. Yes, I definitely resonate with the rescuing thing. I think it's quite easy for us to. I find that model quite useful, because I think you can put yourself in that. You can find yourself in the right place in the triangle and realize that every one of those positions is not great, really. You don't want to be a persecutor of anybody particularly, and you don't want to feel like a victim, and you want and sometimes rescuing somebody. But they don't need rescuing. They need to be able to figure these things out for themselves. I do a lot of charity work, for example, and then the whole idea is about empowering people, not to just keep giving money and it's people expecting that and not being able to grow themselves. So I think it's quite a good comparison. Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Let's move on to so then, at the outset I mentioned about, you taking the courageous decision to move to the US, which
Mm,
I guess gave opportunities for freedom, giving your girls opportunities as well, but obviously leaving behind a lot of the stability and everything else, and having family life and family support, to be able to do that. So can you just talk us a little bit about the motivation for that move, and your experiences of that, especially as you started, you said, your linear life path of climbing the career ladder in academia.
mm. Yeah, I wanted to, from a very young age, I remember even as an early teenager, I remember just feeling I wanted to have more freedom. And there was something about being raised in a society that gave men or boys even in that time. I remember feeling like it was quite unfair and biased towards men and boys and not towards women and girls as much, even in the career choices or the things that we thought we could do and the encouragement to girls. There was this narrative around, women are just, we're going to get married and we're not going to be able to be self-sufficient, things like that. And I didn't really like that. I felt internally I was quite the rebel in that sense. And so when the opportunity arose, I wanted to move. I wanted to go outside of Mexico City. And at the same time, I had a sense that I would come back to Mexico once I had accomplished different things in my life as a young adult or whatever, and support and help Mexicans, which I have actually, and I do, which is really, really interesting. And then when we had the girls and the girls were little, we wanted them, and I especially wanted them to have freedom. For me, this principle, this value of freedom matters. Humans want to be free, and borders I find are ridiculous. I don't like borders. I want to have passports of every single country that I visit. And so even from that age, I felt, okay, we need to have freedom, and I want my daughters to have other opportunities and to live, yeah, in another country that is more, I want to say, the American dream per se at the time is what it felt like, right? I was disenchanted in many ways at that time. However, I did want them to have the freedom of choice. So 2 passports would give them that. And it came with a cost, right? Because I had, the girls were only 7 and 9 when we got a divorce. And so I stayed. I chose to stay in the US as a single parent without family, without that support system and working really, really the rat race big time and doing the best that I could. And yeah, just decided to stay because of the freedom and choice, yeah, that I wanted for us.
Yeah. And I think the yeah, I mean the cost I guess was yeah, leaving family and behind, but there was a lot for you to gain. And I guess it's because one of the characters that I've seen through you, characteristics of you that I've seen in a lot in the last few months, but it's around you know commitment and hard work, and you're not going to get anything for free. Your desire to be excellent, or impeccable, with everything that you do. And that's if we kind of move back to the kind of that conventional career path again, that was you started off at fairly low rungs, and by the end of it you were managing a team of 60 or 70 odd people, through that process, which just shows again your willingness to put in the hard yards, if you like, to get to move forward for both, I guess, both yourself, but as importantly for your children as well.
Mm. Yeah, responsibility has been and impeccability has been really important to me. It was also something that was embedded in our family, right? Just hard work, a lot of intellectual work as well. I mean, it was about being smart, work hard, being honest, being impeccable in your word, in your actions. And I took it really seriously. So, yeah, anything that I encountered, even before my spiritual awakening or before any of this, it was about that, just working really, really hard. And the career I chose, Andrew, was special education, right? So taking care of the most vulnerable. And it's interesting because when you asked earlier, what wasn't working, I want to just address this a little bit. I remember from a very young age, just this feeling that humans are lovable and humans are amazing and they deserve to be cared for and loved. And then many times I wasn't, especially loved, or I would see unfairness or bullying happening, or even within the family itself, or conflict. And I remember just, being taken aback a bit of why isn't it that love is more important, or relationships, or taking care of each other? Why would there be any conflict? And that was a challenge throughout my childhood, teen years, and my thread as an adult up until I did my own emotional healing work. This idea, it's almost like I was born an empath, right? And so this idea that the most important thing that we have is to take care of the other, was really, really strong in
Yeah.
me.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
yeah, I could see that now as something that was to my detriment in many situations, because I always trusted 100% without discernment, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Great. Okay. And I kind of want to move on to the awakening, the spiritual awakening that you had. Just maybe before you, and so it'd be great to just get a bit more, for you to tell the listeners a bit more about that experience and kind of the early stages of that, what happened, kind of immediately after that. But interestingly as well, I'd be interested to know whether you had any, as you were going through your career, your old career, if you like, were you starting to question that at all, or that was fine, you were full steam ahead on that, or were you starting to question things before you had the awakening, and then if we could talk about the awakening after that, would be great.
Well, that's a great question. I didn't question anything. It's almost like
Yeah.
this sense of impeccability, let's say, or commitment. It made it so that whatever job I was doing, whatever jobs, 'cause I had a few jobs, but whatever job I was doing, I loved it. I was committed to it. So maybe my boss wasn't great, but I chose every morning to say, but this is my job and I'm so grateful I have a job. Like I have a job.
Yeah.
How many people don't have a job? There's also this thread, Andrew, about privilege. And I feel like a lot of us, more conscious beings, or people that are on our path to more consciousness, have this, if it's numbing, maybe it's numb, but I feel like a lot of us have this gratitude towards the privilege that we have. We are in the true minority of the population that had food on the table and even travel, or middle class, etc. So yeah, I woke up every morning just doing what I wanted to do or what I needed to do, which was do the work, take care of the girls, and just live that life as a single parent in the US with more than one job, by the way. So it was really, really hard in that sense. And I didn't feel like complaining would be anything. Yeah, complaining has not been one of the things that I appreciated or appreciate, because I have such privilege that I had a job. So there was no unhappiness in my job or the plan or the life plan that I was leading up to the awakening at all. Like no awareness that there was anything coming. Nothing new was coming.
Yeah. Okay. So you wake up one day. Wait. So would you like to sort of expand that? That was just no. It was I was just interested in, because we've never talked about that before, and I was interested to find out. Okay, there's a little question going on here. It just kind of came from nowhere in a way. So can you then talk a bit about that, and then what that kind of where that how that then changed you, and also perhaps the relationship with your kids as well, because that would have probably changed as well. So yeah, it'd be interesting to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, the girls were little, right? They were under the age of 10, also when I had my awakening. And so we went to this place, this musician friend of mine. We went to this place called Lake Okeechobee, 3 hours from Miami. And one of the guys was playing the guitar on the very last day. And as he was playing the guitar and we were exiting to leave to go back to Miami to get back in the car, etc., he was playing the guitar, and this torpedo of energy came from the top. Like, I'll say it like that now. I didn't know what it was, but it was invisible. I didn't see anything. And it hit me in my solar plexus. Like, you can't see me here, but right down here. And literally the way I remember it, and of course, this was many years ago, 24 years ago now, lifted me off a little bit and pushed me back to a couch that was behind me. And I felt, embarrassed because I interrupted the music, right? I interrupted the singing or whatever. And I remember people coming close and saying, "Are you okay?" And when I opened my mouth, the only thing that came out was these light languages that I had no idea what I was saying. So I would just blurt out, and they came also from my solar plexus. So I wasn't speaking from here. I was kind of speaking from down here. And they just came up, and I just swallowed them because I didn't know what was going on. So if your listeners have ever done any plant medicine or or have been in any non-ordinary states of consciousness, that's what it felt like. And I had never done any medicine. I was such a good girl, Andrew. I probably had smoked weed 5 times in my life by then.
Right.
I was really just a very good worker, woman, single mom, etc. So I had never taken any plant medicine I had never even heard about it or anything like that. So I felt I was in a total altered state of consciousness, couldn't stand up, and could not speak in English or Spanish for 7 hours straight at that moment. I'll fast forward when they put me in the car. So there was a big van for the rest of them, and somebody took care of the kids, and they didn't really understand what was happening. I didn't understand what was happening. I thought I'd gone crazy. And when they put me in the car, in the back seat of a car, there was a baby. That's why there was that car. There was a baby in the car seat. And I remember my head was towards the window, and I just didn't want to open my mouth because what was coming out was something I did not recognize as myself. But it was coming through me. So I thought I'd gone crazy, like I said. But at that moment, when I put my head on the window, and it was a 3-hour drive, we went through mangroves, and this is Florida, right? Super flat. So there's mangroves, and then there's pastures, and then there was cows, and there were a lot of trees, and like a lot of, just nature. And I remember I became the cow or became the tree. And I mean, that's how I can describe it now. I had this feeling of, whoa, expansion and openness. And It was amazing. And if anybody asked me a question, I would go back to the fear of what is happening to me. But if I was quiet and just connecting with nature, it just felt great. So that was the awakening day. Let's say that was like a 7-hour thing.
Mm.
If that dwindled, but it lasted like 3 months. And I still, anyway, had to park the car sometimes to express these light languages. So, yeah, I could share a long time about that awakening, but that was the awakening experience
Okay. Yeah.
in April, 24 years ago now.
Wow. Yeah. I guess our listeners can't expect to kind of wake up and have that type of experience.
Yeah.
And I think what's led, I think what is amazing is what comes next. But that initial period afterwards, I think was quite a lonely potential place for you. And if you want to just talk a bit about, like the feeling after, because I think it's, maybe an ability to connect with people because you've just gone through this. Is like, how can I how can I process this? I mean, you talked about this a little bit, but what was
Yeah.
how did you feel that 3-month period as you were going through that? And then what was the kind of then trigger to actually then, right, I'm going to do something, I'm going to start really learning about this, or the healing that you were talking about for yourself to begin with? How did that all manifest itself?
Yeah, I mean, after having such an awakening in a context of Miami, this is a city that is quite materialistic. I wasn't, in the middle of the forest or in a mountain in Tibet or in an ashram. I was in the middle of Miami trying to make a living and raise the girls and all these things. It was really, really unsettling because I thought I'd gone crazy, really, right? So I still was going through this. I've gone crazy, but so I can't really tell anybody. See, this is the other thing. Uh, I parked in front of Baptist Hospital has a psychiatric ward, but I parked in front of Baptist Hospital more than once, feeling like I can't handle this. There was this point, I can look at it back now. There was this point of tension, like this is an awakened being and she doesn't fit into the modern culture context of the job and traffic and disconnection and just all the logistics of life. So I kept it a secret also because I didn't think anyone would understand. I was not in any context of spirituality at all and I felt I had no one to turn to, is what I felt. Now I feel differently. Now I feel like this being with that on my own, I wouldn't do it like that again. I would invite people that if they have a mystical experience, a supernatural experience, because I find that more and more people are having mystical experiences, that go ahead and reach out to somebody. Call me, call me.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was very, very unsettling and lonely. And there were a lot of supernatural manifestations that were happening, including these light languages wanting to speak out, but other manifestations as well, and very little sleep. So yeah, it was, it was very challenging, that part of my life. Not only the 3 months, but those years that followed, where I did all that I did as far as my energetic healing work, which, by the way, the awakening came with this longing, really longing to put my hands on people and to speak light languages to people, like to do the healing work.
Wow.
That's what it came with. So the gift of the awakening was that,
Mm.
but there was nowhere to put it, right?
Sure.
So I would go to the bathroom at work and just sob and express light languages. So it was more than the 3 months. It was a bit longer, that I felt quite isolated and alone in that process. Yeah.
And were you working through that process, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so you're also having to go to work, do that, and then have to kind of live with what was going on there. And so,
Right.
yeah, right. Wow.
Right. Called it sick. Would have to park the car and sob, or
Yeah.
yeah, it was really, really challenging, that piece. And the girls were little, so I didn't want to scare them, because I thought it was very weird also. I had I was going through it, but I had judgment around it myself. Am I going crazy? Am I not? And the other thing is the girls saved me, Andrew, because for sure, if I had not had the sole responsibility of my daughters, I would have asked for psychiatric help, and I would have been medicated. And so yeah, I have a very yeah, I'm very empathetic to people that have been in psychiatric wards or diagnosed with mental illness and may have truly had awakenings like I did
Yeah.
and or medicated.
Oh. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay, so again, without wanting to kind of go through like 20 years of like the last 20 years, I just want to again refer back to the point of, you have this. So if I kind of play back, you have this. The awakening is giving you that direction that you need to want to be able to touch people and help people and everything else. But with your, if you like, your characteristics of your essence, it's around you wanting to make sure that when you're doing this work with other people, that you have the tools at your disposal to be able to do it. So what I've noticed in working or being with you in ceremony and kind of just being with you generally is just your commitment to learning and teaching. Sorry, learning and going on courses and training and practices and making sure that you've got everything that you've got to be able to give everything that you feel you need to the beings that you meet. So I think it's what people don't really see is kind of discipline and that process. Can you just talk a bit about, again, maybe going back to, it's this kind of impeccable nature of your work. Some of those characteristics, I mean, they kind of play their way through, and the standards that you hold to yourself and what advice you'd give, because when people want to do something different, and our podcast is very much around wanting to make some transition, they may not get that light, but they'll definitely have ideas and views of what they want to be doing. And it's not, we can't just click our fingers or click our shoes and just move over to there. So what can you talk about your own experience to the listeners around, that, like, if you really want to get somewhere, some of the characteristics or some of the things that you've put in place in you live your life with, that can help people make their own transition.
Yeah, no, thank you. It definitely, I do take a stand for shortcuts, right? I do appreciate shortcuts. I'm going to go back to the impeccability piece and training as well. But what do I mean by shortcut? My own journey and my own process was very long because I didn't have mentors, because I didn't even look for mentors. I didn't know where to look, for example, for mentors or what to do with these gifts. So I'll just start there. And I think for me, the journey has been a bit in reverse. So I had a spiritual awakening. I had these gifts, energetic, through my hands, through my voice, through my sound, all of that. And I was emotionally had not done a lot of my own personal healing, things around my own life, my childhood, my dad who left, things like that, right? So all of that kind of took me to, if I am in fact being gifted this gift, how can I now make it better and bridge these? Because that was the other thing. I had an intuition or this sense that this was very ancient technology that I'd been gifted, that had been downloaded through me as a vessel, right? And so there is this ancient technology, but modern culture doesn't operate like that. It's not operating in a community with a fire and a drum and people, dancing and singing, and with a medicine person here or there, or that we all go to, and the elders, right? It's been a very, very separating type of structure. So I came to realize that in that aloneness and in that all of that I had my own healing work to do. I felt really alone. I don't feel alone anymore, by the way. I mean, it's a solitary path now in my maturity, let's call it. But at the time, it felt very lonely. And so that feeling of loneliness would then take me to the victim part of a triangle. So I was suffering in silence in that loneliness and being the best mom that I could and having the most fun with the girls because they were going to be little just for a short amount of time. So I was being as impeccable as I could with them. But deep down, I had this realization that I had emotional healing work to do myself, and it wasn't going to be mental work. I had already, through friends or family or whatever, experienced a lot of the mental practices back in the day. So psychology, etc. Psychiatry has more to do with medication. And I felt there had to be something more. Keep in mind, this is before the language of somatic work even was a thing or a trend. But I came to this realization, and so I started to look for the best trainings that I could, whether they were local where I was or abroad. So I would save up and invest in my trainings. I wasn't investing in a lot of other things, yeah, I've never been a shopper per se or things like that, but I was investing in my trainings. So I invested in many trainings, including nonviolent communication, I mean, and decodification by Hammer, and being a possibility facilitator also, and just so many things that I trained and trained and trained in, because and in the training I did my own healing work as well, right? So it was a very long journey as to where to. So as a researcher, like, where can I find newer technologies? So I went also to India and did a healer initiation in India. So I learned about that. I learned about shamanism when I went to Peru and did medicine work to heal myself first, etc. So yeah, I dabbled and went deep in many different modalities before I started to. But actually, that's not true. I was also holding space just with the energy work in parallel, like at the same time, because there was this compelling need to also hold space. So it's not linear, Andrew. It's not you do this and you do that. I was holding energy work, right? Not emotional work, but energy work at the same time that I was doing my own personal healing and doing my own personal emotional healing work and doing my own medicine work for myself. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, we all need a lot of healing. So, yeah. So I mean, that's good. I mean, it's a good segue into the work that you do. A bit more, a bit going into a bit more. So, you talk about the fact that we have 5 bodies. Right? We have our mind, mental body. We have our physical body. We have our emotional body. We have an energetic body, and we have this 5th body. That if all of those 4 in tune with each other, that you could get access a higher field of consciousness. I'd love to, maybe you could speak to the listeners a bit more about that, and then I think again at the outset of the podcast, talking a bit about perhaps the emotional and energetic areas being ones that we kind of don't invest in so much or nourish, and that's kind of where a lot of the work that you do, I know, is kind of focused on. So maybe you could just talk a little bit more about that, and then how you use some of the tools you just mentioned, or go a bit deep into some of the tools on how you work with groups or individuals to help them to shift that negative energy, emotional blockages, etc., to empower them. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So we do have, I think consciousness has a lot. When people speak about consciousness, what is consciousness? Uh, I have found that growing into consciousness doesn't require a spiritual awakening in the way that I had it. And it does take this pulling things apart. So looking at different pieces of things. For example, what you just mentioned of the 4 bodies, right? So we have a physical body, a mental body. Those are the ones that in modern culture, at least in my life, are mostly nurtured or nourished or valued. As kids grow up, you go to school, you get good grades, you do sport, all of these things that have to do with the mental body and the physical body are the ones in that quadrant of the 4 bodies, let's call it. Those are the ones that are being valued and nourished and nurtured. And the more that people have been shying away, or because of religion, in my opinion, but I could talk about that for a while, but kind of shying away from spirituality, really, from the essence of that we are one, that we are conscious beings, and that we are not our day-to-day behaviors or our day-to-day things. It's more about programming based on our environment, wounds, traumas, patterns, society systems, etc. So because of that, I came to realize that my energetic body was really vibrating after my awakening, right? And it was very, very active. And that's why the healer piece was very active. But for most people, that energetic body or that spiritual sense of this energy, like I'm more than this physical body type thing, is very undernourished. And so is the emotional body. Well, the emotions are also energy, right? They are energy, emotions and feelings. And the distinction that I make also that I learned between feelings and emotions is that we are designed to feel at all times. We are feeling at any waking moment, and we don't honor what we're feeling. We don't express what we're feeling. We don't say what we're feeling. We don't even use feeling language like the way we used to when we were children. The word anger is like a bad word. Fear is also a bad word. Like all the sadness is burdensome and solitary. It's a bad word. Even joy has become a bad word because who can feel joy? You must be drunk. You must be on drugs, right? So, or there's jealousy that shows up if somebody actually feels joy. So there has been this. So I came to understand that I've been kind of told a lie about my feelings. So I wanted to feel my feelings as part of nourishing that quadrant of my feelings. However, I, in myself, and most people, and this is the work that I do really, have these emotional blockages. Emotions are the ones that get blocked. So a repressed anger, right? Somebody that has maybe a very angry parent growing up, and they were not allowed because of their size, they were children, they were not allowed to express their own rage or their own anger. Only the parent will repress that anger. And that anger will turn into rage that is now embedded in the physical, energetic body, right? And mental. Like all the bodies are now repressed with that really, really like a rock, like a boulder in the river of our energetic flow, right? And so that emotion is what I am working towards liberating. Many people don't like the word healing, so we could call it liberating. Call it whatever you want. There's stuff there that is stuck. You know, I don't mind. We call it whatever you want. I did my own emotional healing process, and I still do, Andrew. I mean, because things happen in life. Things happen. And when things happen, something pains my children or something happens to me or whatever, what I now know, kind of the blueprint is, oh, I don't want this emotion to be stuck. I will now express it, whether it is through a conversation that I have incomplete with someone that made me feel a certain way, it's my feeling, or whether it's an emotional healing process or crying or whatever the thing is. Because life happens, right? I'm human. We're all human. So the work that I do, going back to the bodies, is to clear the emotional blockages so that we can continue feeling, and so that this energetic body in this part of the quadrant is open. So it is about openness. And the key, one of the keys, is to feel our feelings. It's not the only key, right? But it is to feel, to heal, unblock our emotions, and to feel our feelings. So that would be the key. And then we nourish all four bodies. And if all four bodies are in balance, it is a lot easier, more easeful to tap into the morphogenetic field of consciousness, this love consciousness field where synchronicities happen, where magic happens, where flow occurs, where you're thinking about someone you haven't talked to in a year and they call. Everyone has had that experience, those types of things. And we can become more conscious and aware of that field that has so many more resources than our mind has, than we have, or anything, because we're tapping into an entire unlimited resources of consciousness, really. Yeah. I hope that was clear.
Yeah, no, it's beautifully explained, and I mean, I can resonate with lots of that. I think that you know, speaking from my own experience, you know, that suppression of emotion has been there for a long time. You know, in male in Western society, we're probably taught, when around my age, you're taught not to show their feelings, right? So you just kind of suppress them, and it builds up, and you know, that emotional blockage gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and yeah, that you need an outlet to be able to release that. And I think that, you know, so it would be helpful. I mean, so what are some of the tools that listeners, you know, listeners can do? If we could go into, you know, full ceremonial type thing, but is there some work that listeners can just kind of take on? You know, there's some suggested ways of, you know, kind of dealing with this, like that acknowledgement of feeling and emotion, and the difference with always feeling something. But it's then when it becomes a long term thing, it stores as an emotion. What
Mm,
practices could people do? Easy things that maybe people could do to start that understanding that process, and some techniques that they could employ to help move that along, or move some of that emotional energy.
mhm. Yeah, I'm gonna shy away from saying that these techniques are gonna be super effective.
Yes.
And the reason for that is because in my experience, right, many years of experience now in holding deep emotional, it's almost like the surgical piece. Like I'm holding the surgical piece, let's say, right? And so it's deep emotional healing work with somatic work, with or without medicine. Medicine is very helpful because it allows the mind to relax, to go into this altered state, and then the energetic body opens up so that the emotional blockages are easier to access. So it's becomes like a surgical piece. And the tools that would definitely be helpful while people find the right practitioner to hold a very tight, safe, loving container for deep emotional healing work would be to say, I have a few, but the one that came to me first was to say how you feel, either internally, in writing, and with the people that you're with as a practice. People speak about having all sorts of practices: yoga practice, going to the gym is a practice, swimming practice, meditation practice. How about feeling practice?
Feeling practice. That was great. Yeah. No. Well, it's a simple thing to start, and I agree with that. I mean, you know, one of the things I've observed again is, you know, again, is feel the feelings. We've talked about that over the months, and it's amazing the people that have come to ceremony here and done that, you know, and how, you know, many people have just kind of, you know, we've had one or two people said that I don't feel anything because they've just got they've had so much emotional kind of a negative emotion, so it's just actually, it's better for me not to feel anything at all. Which is good. So yeah, just being able to articulate it and say, this is how I feel, and also to acknowledge that, and this is leading me on to the next thing, but it's okay to feel, you know, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to have, you know, the concept of conscious fear or sadness or anger and everything else. Could we talk a bit about that? Because obviously people are like, you know, you I know you do kind of rage as workshops as well, you know, where you want people to kind of express this conscious anger that's happened. Someone's hurt me, or someone's done something wrong to me, or I've had this, you know, horrible experience that's happened to me, and I need to get this out of my body because it's stored in my body. I need to get it out, and so people would probably be afraid of. And I still have a bit of fear over actually going through, you know, an anger process, because I don't like to be angry, and I don't, you know, I thought not to be angry ever, kind of thing as well. So can we talk a bit again? You know, let's use rage maybe as an example of something that it's okay to have that rage if it's done in a conscious way. Could you just talk a bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great example. It changed my life. I mean, really, if I could say one thing after my awakening, when I began my trainings, finding a space in one of the trainings that I did, finding a space where I could express my own rage. I had no access to my anger, right? I mean, if we backtrack, I was this empath rescuer, making sure everyone was okay. So of course, there was no space for me if you ask my daughters, right, there was no, mom was never angry, which is not healthy, Andrew. I mean, anger is one, right? We have the right to all of our feelings and to feel our feelings. So it changed my life to be able to express my rage. And there's so much to be enraged about. Look at, war, look at the state of affairs, look at Mother Earth, what we're doing to the planet, look how people treat each other. Like, there's so much to be enraged about besides our personal stories, that it's in the collective. And to repress it is why we are here. We've been numbing our rage and therefore are not taking the action. People are in numb state, zombie state, like you were saying before. People are not feeling. So yeah, this rage work, and I'm going to kind of blueprint it like this. If I have a rage, an anger within myself through some sort of hurt, pain, trauma, betrayal, you name it. If I have that stuck in my body, to then be held in a space, and this is the space that I hold, to be held in a space where I am so safe to really escalate that energy so that it can be fully expressed, it just clears space for me, right? Because it's full of something. And maybe it's deep down. Most people that have no access to rage, before they rage, they'll cry, because crying or sadness is more accessible. I see it. We've seen it together, Andrew. I see it all the time in the work that I do. They'll go to grief or sadness first, but the rage is done there. So we need a cheerleader. Like, you can find it. You want it. You want that energy because you don't want to feel numb. You don't want it stuck. You don't want to get sick either, physically sick either, right? So the rage is fully expressed in such a profound, intense way that the energy, right, opens up an entire new space for something new to be possible. I think that a big part of this work, Andrew, is that it's not catharsis and it's not emotional release. It is opening the space, yes, through a release, right? But then filling it up with something new, with something amazing, with new fire, new power, new possibilities, really, new sense of who I am. We just did a ceremony recently, Andrew, you and I, on December 12th, and somebody came out of that ceremony. She had done a ton of energy work. She actually had an awakening some years ago. She came to ceremony. She left that ceremony feeling, wow, I am a healer. I am a person that can help and support others. So this declaring who I am, there was no space to declare who I am. Humans have no space to declare who they really are. And when they realize that now they have that space, then things will start to fall into place. And here I'm speaking to your listeners. The mental puzzle of what should I do next, right? I want to step out of the corporate, hamster wheel. And what do I do next? If they stay and we stay in the mental hamster wheel around that, it could take forever. It can take a very long time, and it's quite distressing. However, if we do the emotional work and a new space opens, then more possibilities are open, because then we open our energetic field, we tap into the field of connectivity, of possibility, and all of a sudden synchronicities happen, offers are being made, and collaboration happens, co-creation happens. It's the mycelium.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned earlier about it's emotion being energy, right? And you're basically releasing that, and it's heavy. I mean, from experience, it's a heavy energy, the negative emotion, the emotional stuff that you store in your body. You feel much lighter when you're able to go through that processing and tapping into possibilities and opportunities and things, because you're basically becoming more of who you are, and you're raising your vibrational energies, and then that's allowing you to connect with other beings on that same level of emotional vibration, which is where you want to be operating, because it's kind of where you want to be. So it's been a really fascinating kind of 5-6 month period to witness this and see it and to actually start to embody it. And I think maybe that's the kind of next thing I'd like to move
Yeah.
to, because you kind of then, we've talked a little bit there around the processes that you're doing with medicine, or during, if you like, the workshop. But one of the things that I think is differentiated or exceptional, again, impeccable, if you like, in the work that you do, is the integration, right? Is like, okay, I've just gone through a process here, and it's hot, and there's a lot. Like, you go through a lot. You go through a real. I'll just say it's hard. It's work. There's what you're doing the work. You're doing the good work, and but it can be quite confusing once you've done the process, once you've gone through it, to make head or tail of what's just happened, and how do I kind of make head or tail of this, and how do I then, not in 3 days' time, kind of think, oh, that was a good experience, but it's just to go back to your own ways. So the concept of integration and the importance you attach to it. And can you talk a bit to that, and how, maybe just give some examples there that people can understand the importance of that, why it's important, and to ensure it sticks. A lot of this stuff sticks once you've gone through the process. Not
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, no.
We definitely wanted to stick. I mean, it is heroic work to do this deep emotional work. A lot of people don't want. They're scared, right? They're scared to look at their traumas and their wounds, and to really unblock the things that have been there, because they've been feeling safe. It's this thing, Andrew, around not being initiated into adulthood. To become an adult is hard. Is hard, and it's so fun. It's so joyful, because we're so free. Adults, we're so free. So it's this being free to be fully responsible for my life. No one else is responsible. So yeah, integration is super important. So ceremony or emotional healing work or process work, let's call it, all of these things are really deep surgical pieces to unblock. And then the integration piece allows for the adult to show up, a conscious adult to show up, because now they're not in a medicine space or under the effect of the medicine proper. For example, let's speak about ceremonies. They're not under that effect of the medicine proper, but they already did this amazing healing, because the mind was not invited to the ceremony. So so they did this amazing healing work. The energy is there. And now it's like how to recalibrate, how to integrate all of that, most especially because the mind is this technology that we have been told, which is a lie, that is the reigning king and queen of our being, the mind, the brain. It is absolutely not true. And so the mind then wants to play tricks, right? That didn't happen. I didn't heal anything, or, oh my God, why did I do this? Or what just happened? Or whatever the thing is, because the mind wants to come back into control. But a conscious adult can then, with the big integration space, which is what I hold after ceremony at least 5 to 7 hours of integration. And I'm available after as well. And in non-medicine space, I also do integration. For any work that I do, I hold a lot of integration space. So it's basically this way for people to either have more of a residual process that was pending. So maybe a blockage was still pending here in the throat, just to give you an example. So it allows us to go through more process work because there was a residual, and that's part of integration, and everyone else is teaming up. So when we do it in a group, it's beautiful because all beings want and are longing to be in service to others. That's our longing. That's our design. So when people are in that state of being liquid, being open, being vulnerable, super vulnerable, because they already did this big work and they're feeling like kids almost, very teary and very open, that brings connection. So the integration can have process work, can have constellation work, can have the talk and distinction work to really just land all of the puzzle pieces. And it is the person's responsibility when they leave my space to continue to leave those channels open, to reach out when they need help and not go lone wolf the way I did many years ago, right? This lone wolf characteristic of I'm alone, I don't trust anyone, I don't da 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 da. No, people are in trust because they've been loved and cared for, Andrew, and in a really really profound way. And there's been no harshness. There's been no harshness. There's been this container. And so I feel like integration is the key, is a key component. And a lot of the post integration after ceremony will depend on them to continue, the way that you have done it, Andrew, like this knowing that it's okay to feel and you can express and say your feelings. This is now the adult feelings, the conscious feeling piece, which is, hey, I feel angry because I'm hungry and I haven't told anyone that I'm hungry and I want to, stop this meeting right now because I really need to nourish my body. People will just not say it. Even basic needs, they won't say it, And look at what just happened. I'm in an apartment in the middle of winter and look at who just showed up.
Oh, what is it? Like you have to lift it up a little bit. Is it a little, what is it? A flying some
Feel like a little, what is I don't know what the name would be, but he's so cute.
Very cute.
And it's the first living being that I see in this apartment, and it's like -3 outside. And he's in here. Anyway, just came up to my arm as I was sharing about this. So yeah, integration is key.
Yeah.
Is key. But what does it mean really? It means that we need tools to hold integration spaces. And to just say that a circle of talking is integration doesn't cut it.
No.
That's not being impeccable. That's not being impeccable in the work, because we need tools to hold the different pieces of integration that may show up in the many, many complex variety of humans that come to a ceremonial space. So yeah, I feel scared about the amount of people, Andrew, that are holding ceremonial spaces or deep emotional healing spaces and do not have the tools to hold it. And they need to do their own healing work, as well.
Yeah. We touched upon that earlier. I agree.
Yeah.
I've experienced that myself, with being in places where you think they don't do enough. I think I gave the example of, a yoga teacher going to do 20 hours of yoga teaching training and becomes a yoga teacher and said, I'm a yoga teacher now and I can go and teach yoga. But it's like, not really. You can teach someone how to move their, asanas and positions, but you've got no idea about the yoga if you've only done 20 hours of training on it. So I think it's, and like I think for you, you're always looking to learn new techniques and tools anyway.
Yeah.
I think you don't stop still if there's something new to learn or to bring into your teachings and trainings and workshops. Then you'll do that if you think it adds to the thing. I think the only other thing I kind of comment on before we probably close around is ceremony is yes, there's a personal responsibility, but there's also this sense of connection and that interconnectedness that you go through as a group when you have ceremony. And so then you've got what happens is not just people able to contact you, but there's like support groups that gonna get WhatsApp groups get formed from the beings that have gone through that. And then there's that kind of sense of supporting each other because you have gone through a very vulnerable experience together. And the other bit, you talk about the 7 hours before, but there's 3 hours before ceremony, which is around authentic relation and getting that group close together so that everyone is really supportive of each other through that whole process. And I've met some great new friends through doing the work and being courageous and taking that step to want to be better. Want to be better for themselves, want to be better for their families.
Yeah.
And there's allowing them to move. They're allowing us individually but collectively to move on to do better things and have confidence and courage to do that. So there's always work to do, though, as you said. That the trick is to try to keep out that, keep those negative emotions from building up. Through that sharing your feeling conscious work that you can do on your own at home. If you want to do that. I love that. They kind of, what did you call it earlier? I love the we have our practice, our healing. We should have our feeling practice. That's a new thing we should introduce, I think. Okay, so what did I? Yeah, so maybe going back a little bit to yourself. Clearly, you do a lot of travel. You move around a lot, and again, some of our listeners may well want to transition into something that's more mobile, more nomadic. So how do you stay, rooted? What anchors you a little bit if you're kind of always here, there, and everywhere? What again how have you learnt to do what you do and travel and always feel like, when you land somewhere, you're a very grounded person. So for me, so how do you do that? What's the secret?
Yeah, it all stems from being, I feel, right, being unblocked. Actually, the unblocking. And by the way, I just wanted to mention one thing around the when you said negative. Maybe the language, instead of negative, it's the blockages, right? Of trauma and wounds, because no emotions and no feelings are negative. It's energy.
Right.
They cannot be negative. They're just blockages
Yeah.
that you don't want. They're not beneficial, for sure. They're not beneficial.
Yeah.
Just wanted to share that.
That's the distinction. Yeah.
That distinction. Yeah. And yeah, I this year I was in so many places, right? Costa Rica and many cities in the US and Mexico and many places in Europe and all the things. And what I find when you ask that question, I'm very open, which means that this is the other consequence of being open. There's so many great consequences of being open. And one of the bigger ones, I think, for travel is that where I am, that's where I am. I'm very present where I am. So when I am open like that, the travel, of course, there's going to be physical tiredness and hiccups with travel. I just had one actually coming here where I am now, but that's fine because I just stay open and then I can still connect in different ways to where I am and breathe. Breathing also helps a lot, by the way, when you asked about tools, like really being focused and conscious of my breathing, because breathing is connected to presence of the now. And literally the only thing that exists, this is not like woo-woo or the only thing that exists literally is the now.
Yep, I agree. For sure.
That's it. Right now, this is it.
Yeah.
And what we spoke about 5 minutes ago already happened. It passed. So yeah, I find that, again, do the emotional healing work. If people would do their own emotional healing work, then they would not have to go into the victim triangle of this is so tiring, this is so hard, this is so da-da-da. They don't have to go into the persecutor of this, they did this to me, they did that to me, and they don't have to go into the rescuer of I need to save the world. If they do their emotional, because that's what happens in the drama of I'm a traveler, I'm a nomad. I see it all the time. I work with digital nomads a lot. And there's a lot of that triangle happening and the tiredness and well, that's unconscious anger. If you're tired, just say I'm sleepy and go to sleep. Go to bed. Take a nap. There are some things that are more simple. So yeah, I think that for me, it's about that, Andrew, trying to be present where I am in the present as much as possible. Yeah. Not to say that I'm not challenged as well, by the way, but for the most part, I'm really and if I don't want to do this anymore, traveling and be nomadic, then I'll stop because it's my life.
It's your life. It's your life.
I get to choose.
Yes, absolutely. I'm surprised we haven't talked about breathe, but breathe with sound. We remember that.
Yeah.
Sound, make the sounds as well. Yes. Yes.
The vibration.
Important to do. Yes, the vibration. Great. How, and yeah, how has so you've got your grounding there. I mean, I guess you've got a family as well. So how has being a mother shaped the way you think about healing work, sovereignty, the kind of
Mm.
world you want to leave, or you're helping to manifest, to move towards, if you like, given excuse the French, the shit that's going on in the world right now.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so, so grateful and blessed, Andrew, because my daughters are now 30 and 32, and they sit in ceremony with me. They bring their friends, their partners sit in ceremony with me. I mean, and and I find that I see it in them, this younger generation, that the younger they begin, so going back to being a mother, of course, there is a responsibility. I love my children to bits. I would, yeah, give my life for my children, right? I absolutely love. It's the best job in the world, and I am the mother also of many others, if that makes sense. There's like, yeah, I really feel very connected and very much the space holder of this nourishing kind of elder that people are needing for many, many people also, but without being the rescuer or the guru. And I'm not that for my daughters either. So, what do I want for the younger generations, my daughters included? I want everyone to feel their feelings, use their energy, step into their magic, whatever their purpose is, and commit. And commit for 6 months, you know? And then in 6 months' time, if they change their mind, commit again to something different that you're passionate about and commit again for 6 months or 3 months. But this wishy washiness is the thing, Andrew, that gets people
Mm,
because energetically there's not enough fire in the belly,
yeah,
right? And we're needing it.
yeah,
Yeah. And being a mom is amazing, and I love that my girls, sorry, I just wanted to share that. I feel really, really happy and proud of them, the young women that they've become. They're really grounded, and they love each other. We are super connected. We have each other, and we have an adult to adult relationship now, which is just wonderful. I'm
yeah.
graduated from motherhood in a way.
Yes.
Not really.
Well done. Well done.
Yeah.
Okay, so just the final bit in this section would be then, and I think you just covered it a little bit, commit, recommit, and everything else. But what if, again, for the listener, what inner work would you suggest? What is the kind of inner work that one needs to do to kind of get that into that, to make that transition sustainable? Because I think it's like, again, if I think about myself, I try things in historically, it's not worked. I give up, kind of. So, is there anything else you'd add on top of what you just talked about? Was that kind of commit, 6 months, recommit? Is that inner work, that kind of inner confidence or courage?
Yeah.
Is there anything you could talk to about that?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, for sure, like I said, the emotional healing work matters because the blockages are making it difficult to make decisions and to choose and to stick with things. So emotional healing work for sure. And stepping into what is my role on the planet, eh, for the greatest good.
That'd be very good, yeah.
For the greatest good. I felt emotional just now as I said it. If we could all agree that we are here to be together, to be one, like truly, truly love each other and care for each other and be with each other. And if adults, right, people, you're the listeners here, people that we meet, would really sense that it takes that one human in a space, in a gathering, to really be in that love space of I love you and I want the best for you. And then then that purpose, whatever your purpose is, it's going to ripple because your joy of that purpose is going to ripple that to others. And it's going to ripple authenticity and care and connection. And I don't mean like joy as in party. I mean joy as I feel joy that I can right now express that I feel sad. I feel joy that I'm alive and can express all of my feelings at the snap of my finger. Like my emotional body is really here. I vibrate, right? And I want that for everyone. So yeah, consciously being aware of what is it that I want to bring to the world, as opposed to what is it that I want to bring to myself.
Mm.
It's not big enough.
Yep.
I'm not big enough. You're not big enough. We are truly not that important. The collective is super important.
Mm.
Community is super important. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can do more with together than we can on our own, and
Yeah.
it's a lonely place to be on your own. The lone wolf is not where you want to be. Really, I don't think, I don't know with that many people that are happy being a lone wolf. Really, because you need, like, if you think about Mycelium Hub Network, it's around, we want to support each other.
Yeah.
We want to respect their values and what they want to bring to the world, and help them if they don't have a clear purpose, to help them with that, or if they've got a clear purpose, help them to give them the resources in the network to be able to achieve that, from the heart, really, as well. From the heart, not from the head, which is kind of what you were talking about before.
Yeah, you're there. The Mycelium Hub, because I know about you guys, right? I've met you guys, and it's really about that. It's opening up the possibility that they have somewhere to go to, and somewhere to find collaboration and resources and all of that web. Really, I love it. I love it. It's very beautiful. That somebody, we all need someone on our team, Andrew.
Yes.
That's what it is.
We do.
I love it.
Somebody who wants, as you said, that wants the best for you as well.
Yeah.
It's not having team members that are just gonna not be disruptive. Particularly, that doesn't help either. So
Right.
So Mikaela, what's next? First of all, do you feel complete over kind of what we've been talking about so far? Is there anything that you'd want to kind of add to what we've discussed? But I'd also love to find out what's coming next for you, and or in terms of your vision and mission, and how people can get in touch with you. But if there's anything that you felt that we haven't covered that you'd like to
Yeah.
talk
Thank you.
about, we have
Yeah.
time.
A very short one that I wanted to add
Please.
before I share what's next
Yeah.
is this total shifting the paradigm, like what we said, right? Around feelings and being able to feel, but also around curiosity. I keep encountering, Andrew, in the work that I do, I keep encountering people, so many people that have never, or have very rarely been seen. Like they very rarely feel like they've been seen. And when I speak about presence, right? Being present, being aware, this is where I am and all of that. There's also this, and being in connection and being loving and like this, it's about curiosity. I am curious about you. Right now, Andrew, in this podcast, I feel more expanded because there's a human feeling and asking questions. So there's a curiosity. So I would like to start sharing more about, let's be more curious.
Mm.
Yes, more compassionate, more empathetic. We don't know what life that being has gone through and the way that they're behaving, being radically aware, but curiosity. So I just wanted to mention that
Great.
bit around curiosity. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for that. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Asking the right questions.
Ask the right questions. Yeah.
You guys are good at that.
Yeah. Be curious for sure. Question. Yeah. Question things. Just anything that it doesn't hurt to answer a question, and it's so easy now to find information, but also you then need to have the discernment to actually understand whether the information is right or wrong. So be very careful about the sources that you use, and corroborate anything that someone tells you, or think about what who's telling you that information and whether they have a motive in telling you something. So yeah, that's
Right.
curiosity with awareness, awareness of as well.
With awareness, and that comes from being unblocked. The other thing that I do also do want to share is this integration of ceremony, the way that we've described it, which has the preparation with a lot of workshop and tools, and we get together and so there's a lot of prep work. And then the ceremonial piece with somatic work included, emotional healing work, the chanting, the drumming, the traditional piece integrated in it, super lengthy, where we dose the medicine together so that they're empowered, where the community is allowed to be in with each other and support each other, even in the medicine work. And then the 6-7 hours of integration is the latest iteration of a lot of work, Andrew. So, energy work, healing work, trainings, all of these tools and things that I've kind of put in my tool chest, and then really sensing and listening also to the medicine myself in my own work that I continue to do. I still work with medicine more for continuing to grow and evolve. And that's the iteration. The reason I want to share that, Andrew, is because no one taught me how to create that structure. This structure was self-created from the years and the experience and what I felt was needed. So what I want to share is there's a lot, and I went through a lot of suffering, I'm going to call it, or unhappiness in many of the workshops that I attended and many of the shamans that I was with, because there was a lot of hierarchy and patriarchy, and you're not okay, and who are you to be chanting or singing Icaros, and you know what I mean, crushing me and all of these things. So I really want to say, you, me, all of people that are listening now, you have it within you. If you do your emotional work, if you heal, if you unblock, if you bring all of these resources, if you team up for people that want the best for you, to resource your model, you create your own game world, because then it makes everything else, what is it? What was that? It was this guy, Buckminster
Fuller.
said,
Yeah, Buckminster Fuller. Yeah.
irrelevant. It makes everything else irrelevant. So I went through a lot of different teachers and teachings and things, and I kept feeling that they were great teachings. I'm so grateful. And you still wanted me to be less than, to be crushed, to be looking at you in a hierarchical way. And it took a long time. And I don't want that for humans, Andrew. I want humans to be empowered from the beginning, but be aware I want to do this emotional healing work. I want to do this. And the formula will come for their life. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Patriarchy has done quite the number on all of us. And it's not men. Men are very affected by patriarchy as well. But anyway, don't adapt, use your conscious feelings and do it. So yeah, thank you, Andrew,
Right.
for listening to that bit. I felt a little incomplete with that.
Good.
And
That makes sense.
yeah, thank you. And it's not, I don't want to romanticize my journey.
No.
I want to do that, Andrew. Yeah.
And you don't want people to go on as long a journey as you either, do you? You don't want people to replicate it because it took you so long to do it. So this is going to, the wisdom that you share is and the tools and practices that you employ with people is that's the fast tracking you're talking about. It enables us to move through some of this emotional with the healing work much quicker and
in a shorter amount of time.
in a much shorter period of time. And I think that was definitely being borne out.
Yeah. And then yeah, exactly. We want to shortcut it. And because we, what I want for the future, right? Like what's next?
Yes.
I do have apprentices in different parts of the world where I hold ceremonies. However, what's next for me is I want to be able to share more and expand more of the teachings for people to learn, so that it can be shared with others. These types of shortcuts with the sovereignty and freedom of each being is different, right? Not a cookie cutter. There's no cookie cutting with this work, Andrew. I'll tell you that.
No, there isn't.
These are not. This is not mathematics. Yeah. And so I do want to expand more of the teachings for others so that that sense of doing it in an impeccable way and knowing what you're doing, really knowing what you this delicate work. So I want to share with others. That would be one. So I want to call it like a training, a wizard school of sorts, being able to then maybe leave the body, go into those consciousness fields, right? Where the physical body is not interfering and we just spread and raise consciousness and love consciousness more and more and more and more, like a wizard school. I know we haven't talked much about that, but that's like another section maybe.
Yeah.
More of the spirituality and what is possible in those realms. And also, yeah, to expand more into more speaking engagements. I had the opportunity just last year, this year as well, and another time, but to speak at an IT conference in Lithuania with IT professionals. And I feel that radiating these types of teachings and distinctions and consciousness and openness and healing possibilities for those that are right now in the forefront of technology like AI is super important because people are looking at AI to be their counselor, their coach, their psychologist, their partner, their lover, their friend. And right. And so who is coding AI?
Yeah, these guys, yeah. So,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm really into the research. I'm into the neuroscience. I'm into the AI technologies. I want to be able to speak more about this in different spaces and locations, and they show up, and I want to now more intentionally look into being able to go into that way. The corporate world, I work a lot with corporate in California, especially Austin and Texas, here or there in England as well. We work with corporate people. So going more into those spaces because they can ripple out the influence, right? The cosmic love influence to others. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Spread the word.
Spread the word. So yeah, exactly. So if anyone's listening that feels that that Mikaela would be a great person to come to talk at their conferences or events, then please reach out. So to that point, how will people contact you, Mikaela? What's the best way?
Yeah, many of them, or you guys might be surprised. Your listeners might be surprised that I don't use social media. My Instagram has like 5 posts or something, or I don't use Facebook for many years now or anything. So it's literally on WhatsApp. That's another one of my goals for next year. Andrew, has become more visible in all the journeyers or people that love me and want to kind of follow where I am. So I want to become more visible. I haven't done it. Yeah, let's call it, I don't know, the organizational piece. But right now, WhatsApp would be the best way to I'll just place you on the list or email. So yeah, my number, you guys can share it. I guess.
We'll share it in the show notes.
My WhatsApp is great. It works great. I can send you a flyer, people a flyer, what I do.
Yeah.
And we can also jump on calls. Happy to do that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I have a website. You can also post it, but I haven't redone it in many, many years, but they can take a look at some photos there. I'll give you the link of the website as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. It's an older one.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. What's it? It's the 23rd of December today, so we're just a couple of days before Christmas now. So wishing you a very Merry Christmas and looking forward to catching up and seeing you in person in the new year.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for taking the time.
Same to you, Andrew. Oh, enjoy your family so much. So much love. And for your listeners as well. Alrighty.
Okay.
And onward. We got work to do.
And onward.
And no pressure.
Okay, bye. Bye.